Hey guys, I'm back for more fun. My name is Lisa, and I have an interesting topic that's really near and dear to my heart that I would like to discuss with you. Today's topic is drug addiction and how it affects you and your communities. Growing up in New York City in the crack epidemic of the late 80s and 90s have really showed me some things that I've never known that I would have seen before. But I'm here to tell you that it was a travesty and really sad at the time growing up. My family didn't have to deal with drug addiction personally in our household, but it doesn't mean that it went unnoticed. I lived in a 17-story apartment building with 10 families on each floor. And of those 10 families, one to two people within that building on each floor, there was a drug addict living there with us. I didn't like it. That's why I left New York City. When I was 21, I left because of what I've seen and what went on there as a child. I've seen drug deals go on after school, before school, and everything else. This is not a place to grow up and raise a family. When you ride up and down on the elevator and the doors open up and there are drug dealers just standing there waiting to serve the next customer. What kind of business is this? This is what tore up most of our inner cities. And it still to this day has an effect and impact on our communities. I feel bad for the people that had to deal with the drug addiction because it affects the children. Children have to witness things that they shouldn't have to witness. Parents are selling the children out to people so that they can get money for crack and heroin or whatever drugs that they were using. You had children coming to school hungry. And these were your classmates. And you knew they were hungry. They talk about everything that went on in the house. You would probably play with them as a child, and you went and visit their home and realized that they didn't have any food in the cabinets nor the refrigerator. So if you think that drugs don't have an impact on the community, it does. It affects everyone. It affects the neighbors. It affects the teachers. It affects the children. A lot of children got taken from their parents during this time frame because this was a form of neglect and abuse. The sad thing about it, there was hardly no programs back then for the addicted parents to get themselves some help. I've seen children being taken away. I've seen parents locked up. I even seen one parent killed because she was a drug addict. Her own husband killed her. And that was the saddest day of my friend's life during the time growing up in school, to be pulled out of class to go home because her father threw the mama out the window. And who would do such a thing like that? He was on drugs. She was on drugs. He didn't want the daughter finding out that the mama was on drugs. So he decided to kill her. You can't mend that type of family back together. A lot of people don't realize that the drug is outliving the person, because that's not the person who they really were before being addicted to drugs. According to Healthline.com, in the article that I've read, How to Cope When Someone in Your Household Lives with an Addiction, it's important to first learn the driving forces behind the addiction itself. What is causing this person to want to use drugs and continue to use drugs even though it's ruining their lives? Addiction is a disease, and it causes changes in the brain that the person is not able to control. The dopamine receptors are craving more and more of that drug, And unfortunately, that's a really hard habit to break on your own. A lot of times you have to go through years of treatment in order to recover from drugs and this addiction. And sometimes you still relapse and have to be put back into a rehab center. You have to want to get cleaned up. I didn't personally live in a home where we seen drugs of my brothers and sisters. No, I haven't dealt with that on a personal level at home. But my biological father, he did die from a drug addiction. He didn't live in my home, and I didn't know much about him. But I did know when he passed, that was the reason he passed, was because of a drug addiction. So that was probably the reason why he never was in my life, because he couldn't get his life together. And see, with that type of stuff going on, it's called a broken home. Drugs break up the homes, and it break up the families, and it breaks up the communities. So you have single mamas trying to raise the children because there's a broken home going on behind the drugs.